Hello everyone, this is Ly Tu Huyen welcoming you back to Life's Single Channel. Today we continue our journey with a story that reminds us how fragile life can be. What happens when the person who always takes care of everyone suddenly needs care themselves? When the pillar of strength begins to crumble, who will hold everything together? For 2 days, Day has been fighting a fever that refuses to break. Huyen watches helplessly as the man who saved her life grows weaker by the hour. Should she wait, hoping he'll recover on his own? Or is time running out faster than she realizes? Stay with us to witness a moment that will test their love like never before. Please like and subscribe to follow their journey. The second night felt endless. Huyen sat beside Day's sleeping mat, watching his chest rise and fall with labored breaths. The small room in their mountain home was dimly lit by a single lamp, casting long shadows across the walls. Dee's fever had not broken since yesterday morning. His skin burned hot to the touch, yet he shivered beneath the thin blanket. Huyen dipped a cloth into cool water, wrung it out, and gently placed it on his forehead. She had done this countless times over the past 48 hours, changing the cloth every few minutes as it warmed against his skin. Day stirred slightly but did not wake. His face, usually so calm and kind, was tight with discomfort even in sleep. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his lips were dry and cracked. Huyen reached for a cup of water, carefully lifting his head to help him drink. He managed only a few sips before turning away, too weak to continue. Her heart clenched painfully in her chest. This strong man, who had carried her and Maya through their darkest days, now could barely lift his head. Maya had asked about him before going to sleep. "Is Papa Day going to be okay?" Her small voice trembled with fear. Huyen had smiled and nodded, tucking her daughter into bed with reassuring words. She did not fully believe herself. "Papa Day is just tired, sweetheart. He needs rest." But now, in the quiet darkness with only the sound of Day's difficult breathing, Huyen allowed herself to feel the terror she had been hiding. What if something happened to him? What if she lost the man who had given them everything? Her mind drifted back to their first meeting. She had been sitting outside a broken shelter with Maya, both of them hungry and hopeless. Day had walked by and stopped, his eyes full of concern rather than judgment. He had not asked questions that day, just brought them food and promised to return. And he had kept that promise every single day since. He rebuilt their lives piece by piece, asking nothing in return. He loved Maya as his own daughter, teaching her to read, playing with her in the evenings after long days of work. He loved Huyen with a gentleness she had never known existed. How had she not noticed he was working himself to exhaustion? Day never complained. He woke before dawn to tend the garden, walked miles to the market to sell their produce, came home to repair the house, and still had energy to make them laugh at dinner. He carried the weight of their small family on his shoulders without ever letting them see the strain. Now that weight had crushed him, and Huyen understood with crushing clarity that she had taken his strength for granted. She looked at him lying there, so vulnerable and small beneath the blanket. This was not right. Day was supposed to be the strong one, the protector. Seeing him like this felt like watching the mountains crumble. But perhaps that was the problem. She had let him be strong alone for too long. She had accepted his care without realizing he needed care too. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she made her decision. At first light, she would take him to the hospital. She could not wait any longer, hoping the fever would pass on its own. If something happened to Dee because she hesitated, she would never forgive herself. Dawn came slowly, painting the sky in shades of gray and pink. Huyen had not slept at all. She had spent the night watching Day, monitoring his breathing, checking his temperature. If anything, the fever seemed worse. His skin was burning hot, and he had begun to mumble in his sleep. Caught in fever dreams she could not reach, she gently shook his shoulder. Dee, can you hear me? We need to go to the hospital. His eyes opened, unfocused and glassy. He tried to speak, but only managed a weak nod. Huyen moved quickly. She woke the neighbor, an elderly woman who had often helped them, and asked her to watch Maya. The little girl woke as her mother was preparing to leave. Fear filled her eyes as she saw Dee being helped to sit up. Mama, where are you taking Papa Dee? Huyen knelt beside her daughter, holding her small face between her hands. Papa Dee needs to see a doctor, my love. He will be okay, but we need to get him help. You stay here with Grandmother Lan, and I will come back soon with good news. She kissed Maya's forehead, her heart breaking at the child's frightened expression. Getting Dee to the vehicle was difficult. He could barely stand, leaning heavily on Huyen as they made their way outside. She had called for emergency transport, and the small medical van waited in front of their house. The driver helped lift Dee into the back, and Huyen climbed in beside him. As they pulled away, she looked back to see Maya standing in the doorway with Grandmother Lan, her small hand raised in a wave. Huyen waved back, forcing a smile she did not feel. The journey to the hospital took them down winding mountain roads, shrouded in early morning mist. The landscape that usually brought Huyen peace now seemed eerie and distant. She sat beside Dee, holding his hand tightly in both of hers. His fingers were hot and dry, and occasionally his grip would tighten as another wave of fever washed over him. She studied his face, memorizing every line and feature. How many times had she watched him sleep peacefully at home? Those moments had seemed ordinary then. Now she would give anything to return to that simple peace. Why had Dee not told her how sick he was feeling? She thought back over the past weeks. Had there been signs she missed? He had been working even harder than usual, preparing their land for the next planting season. He wanted to expand their small farm, to grow enough to sell more at market. For Maya's education, he had said, so she can have opportunities we never had. Always thinking of them, never of himself. Huyen felt a sharp stab of guilt. She should have noticed. She should have insisted he rest, should have taken on more of the work herself. Instead, she had let him carry everything while she focused on Maya and the house. The hospital appeared through the mist, a concrete building that seemed both welcoming and intimidating. The van pulled up to the emergency entrance, and suddenly, everything moved very fast. Medical staff rushed out with a stretcher. Dee was lifted from the van and wheeled inside, and Huyen hurried after them, her heart pounding. She tried to follow into the examination room, but a nurse gently stopped her. Please wait here. The doctors need space to work. The doors closed between them, and Huyen stood frozen in the hallway. She found a plastic chair and sat down, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. The waiting area was quiet at this early hour. A few other people sat scattered around, lost in their own worries. Huyen stared at the closed emergency room doors. Behind them, doctors were examining Dee, running tests, making decisions that would determine his fate. She clasped her hands together tightly, pressing them against her mouth. Please, she thought, please let him be okay. Let me have the chance to tell him how much he means to us. Let me show him that we can be strong for him too. Time moved strangely. Minutes felt like hours. Yet when she looked at the clock, only 20 minutes had passed. She watched other patients come and go. A child with a broken arm, an elderly man having trouble breathing, a woman in labor, life and death and everything between, all converging in this building. Somewhere behind those doors, Dee was fighting. She wished desperately that she could be with him, holding his hand, lending him her strength. But all she could do was wait. After what felt like an eternity, the emergency room doors opened. A doctor emerged, his expression serious. He looked around the waiting area, and his eyes found Huyen. She stood immediately, her legs shaking. The doctor approached and she searched his face for clues. Was it good news or bad? She could not tell. "You are with the patient, De?" he asked. Huyen nodded, unable to speak. Her throat had closed with fear. The doctor gestured to a quieter corner of the waiting area. "Let us talk privately." Those words sent ice through Huyen's veins. Private talks meant serious news. She followed the doctor, each step feeling heavy and slow. They sat down, and the doctor pulled out a chart. "Your husband has dengue fever," he began. Huyen's breath caught. Dengue fever. She had heard of it, knew it was dangerous. The doctor continued, his voice professional but not unkind. "His platelet count is very low, which is typical of dengue. But what makes his condition more serious is that his body is severely weakened. From what I can tell, he has been working beyond his physical limits for some time. Malnutrition, exhaustion, stress. All of these factors have compromised his immune system." The words washed over Huyen like cold water. Dengue fever, overwork, weakened body. She tried to process what the doctor was saying, but her mind felt slow and confused. The doctor looked at her with sympathy. "If you had waited even another day to bring him in, we might have been looking at a much worse situation. Dengue can progress rapidly, especially in someone whose body is already struggling. He needs intensive monitoring, intravenous fluids, rest, and proper nutrition. We will keep him here for observation." Huyen's vision blurred with tears. So it was true. Day had worked himself to the point of collapse. All for them. All to build a better life for a woman and child who were not even his blood family. He had given everything, and it had nearly cost him his life. "Is he going to be okay?" she managed to ask, her voice breaking. The doctor nodded slowly. "With proper treatment and rest, yes. But it will take time, and when he recovers, he must make significant changes. No more working to exhaustion. His body needs time to heal fully, or this could happen again." Relief and guilt crashed over Huyen in equal measure. He would be okay, but at what cost? How close had they come to losing him? "Can I see him?" she asked. The doctor nodded. "Yes, but only for a few minutes. He needs rest above all else." He led her down the hallway to another room. Huyen's hands trembled as she followed. They stopped outside a door, and the doctor pushed it open. 5 minutes, he reminded her gently. Huyen stepped into the room. Day lay in a hospital bed, an IV line in his arm, monitors beeping softly beside him. He looked so small in that bed, so unlike the strong man who had carried their family. His eyes were closed, but they opened as she approached. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Then Huyen reached out and took his hand. His fingers curled weakly around hers. "I am sorry," Day whispered, his voice hoarse. "I did not want to worry you." Tears spilled down Huyen's face. "You have nothing to be sorry for," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I am the one who should apologize. You have carried us for so long, and I never realized how heavy the burden was. You have worked yourself to exhaustion for us, and I was too blind to see." She brought his hand to her cheek, holding it there. "You saved my life, Day. You and Maya are everything to me. When I thought I might lose you, I realized I have never told you enough how much you mean to us." Dee's eyes filled with tears. He tried to speak, but Huyen shook her head. "No, just rest. We will have time to talk later. Right now, you need to focus on getting better. Maya and I need you, not as someone who works himself to death for us, but just as you. The man who makes us laugh, the man who teaches Maya to be kind, the man I love with all my heart." She leaned down and kissed his forehead gently. "You do not have to be strong all the time. Let us be strong for you now." Dee's grip on her hand tightened slightly, and a single tear rolled down his cheek. In that moment, Huyen understood something profound. Love was not just about receiving care and protection. It was about giving it back. It was about seeing when the strong need to be weak, when the caretaker needs care. For so long, she had let Dee be her hero. Now it was time for her to be his. The nurse appeared at the door, indicating that her time was up. Huyen squeezed Dee's hand one more time. "I will be right outside," she promised. "And I will be here when you wake up. Always. Life has a way of surprising us with challenges we never expected. Just when we think we have found stability, something comes along to shake our foundation." For Huyen and Dee, this moment in the hospital was such a turning point. Dee had spent so long being strong, building a life for his small family, that he forgot to take care of himself. His body finally demanded the rest he had denied it for too long. Dengue fever combined with exhaustion created a dangerous situation that could have ended tragically. But love, true love, reveals itself most clearly in moments of crisis. Huyen realized something important in that waiting room. She had been so focused on being grateful for Dee's care that she had never thought to look deeper, to see the cost of his generosity. True partnership means noticing when your loved one is struggling, even when they try to hide it. It means insisting on sharing the burden, even when they say they can handle it alone. Dee gave Huyen and Maya a second chance at life. Now Huyen would give to something equally precious. Permission to be vulnerable, to rest, to let someone else carry the weight for a while. But the journey is not over. Dee faces a long recovery ahead. Dengue fever is not something that heals overnight. His body needs time to rebuild its strength, and there are questions that remain unanswered. How will they manage the farm while Dee recovers? Can Huyen take on more responsibility? What will happen when Dee's strength returns? Will he slip back into old patterns of overwork? And what about the life they are building together? This health crisis has shown them both how fragile their happiness is, how quickly everything goes. Thank you so much for following Huyen and Dee's story today. We know this was a difficult episode to watch, but it carries an important message. Take care of yourselves and the people you love. Notice when someone is struggling, even if they smile and say they are fine. Life is precious, and the people we love are irreplaceable. What will happen next? Will Dee fully recover? How will this experience change their family? Find out in the next episode. Please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Life Single channel so you do not miss what happens next. Leave a comment below telling us your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a moment when you realized how much someone means to you? We would love to hear your stories. Until next time, this is Ly Tu Huyen, reminding you to cherish every moment with the ones you love. See you soon.